So I was looking around online to see what kind of GoPro mounts people had going on their dirt bike videos and whatnot. So the first and most common one I saw, which is actually the first one I tried, is to have it on top of the helmet like so, which seems to work okay. So the problem I find with it is that when I'm trail riding, it gets caught on branches easily, which can be pretty hazardous. Obviously, because if it gets caught on a branch, it could pull your helmet off, and that's not good. So the next position I tried was to have it on a chest protector like this. And that seems to work well enough because it doesn't get caught on anything and you don't really notice it at all while you're riding because it's on your chest instead of your head, right? It almost weighs nothing. But the problem I found with that view is that whenever you stand up, the only thing you can see of the video is the bike's handlebars and the tank. So it's kind of makes for shitty videos that way because you can't see where you're going, right? So I was looking around and I saw that some people had it actually mounted on the chin of the helmet, like right in front of your mouth, pretty much. And that seemed like the best location to me because it doesn't get caught on anything, and you can still see where you're going. When I was looking up videos of how people made theirs, though, I found that the only decent ones I saw was people who would kind of take a piece of metal or plastic and bend it around kind of the helmet like that and like rivet it in, or even use screws to attach it to the helmet that way. The only problem I didn't like with that kind of design was I kind of like my helmet and I didn't really want to drill into the shell. So I was thinking about it and actually came up with my own design, which I think is one of the better ones. So I'm going to show you guys how I made it. So here's my helmet, and you can see what I've made. It's kind of a little metal bracket that actually goes through the shell of the visor, or through the shell of I guess the full face part of the helmet, whatever you want to call it, and goes through to the back and actually attaches kind of clamps itself there. So when I want to put the camera on, I can kind of slide it in, obviously like that, and it just kind of faces forward like that. So this way, obviously, like I said, it doesn't get caught on anything. And it doesn't, I don't have to drill into the helmet, so it doesn't look crappy if I ever want to take it off, pretty much. So I'm going to show you how I built this. Maybe you guys can do it yourself if you want. Here's the piece of metal I made it out of. It's actually an aluminum skid plate from my last bike. And you can see I just pretty much cut it out with a hacksaw. And you can see I put that piece of foam there so that in case if I did crash, if I face planted really badly, I wouldn't just my teeth wouldn't hit the bolts that are behind it, which I'll show you in just 1 second here. Okay, so you can see here, and I hope the camera picks it up because it's kind of dark here. I'll go near the window. What I've actually made is kind of a series of kind of washers and bolts that actually run all the way through to the front, and kind of clamps it to it. See those two big washers obviously is what actually holds it to the helmet. I bent those so that they wouldn't kind of gouge in. They would kind of fit snugly nicely, and yeah, it pretty much runs all the way through. And you'll notice here that I have more than just the two bolts that hold it on. And the reason for that is because this aluminum piece that actually used as a bracket didn't want to stick to the GoPro mount. I stuck it on and it wasn't strong enough just to hold on itself. So I had to use these 3 additional small screws here. And I pretty much, you see I sunk all the screws so that they don't interfere with the camera sliding in or out. So pretty much what I did is I screwed those guys in, then I hacksawed them off on the back so it was nice and flush and filed it down. So there's no sharp edges scratching the back of my helmet. So now I'm going to take the whole thing apart and show you all the pieces in it. Okay, so here you can see the helmet without the chin mount on it, and you can see that apart from these 2 holes I had to make for the bolts to go through, the helmet is otherwise intact, and I kind of like that about this because, like I said, I really like this helmet, so I don't really want to cut it up. And you can kind of see in here, actually, maybe a little bit. You can kind of see where the washer is kind of indented the helmet, but there's not really any scratching or scuffing or distortion. It just kind of pretty much clamps in, which is why I like this so much. And here And here you can see all the pieces disassembled. So obviously I have the mount here. Actually, these two other bolts kind of push through too. It's kind of hard to do with one hand, but don't roll away now. Okay, so here is the mount itself, and you can see, like I said, that's one of the screws actually holding a mount to the aluminum bracket, and you can see this camera doesn't like to focus. I kind of cut it off and filed it. Obviously the other two are behind these foam pieces you can't see. And obviously the foam is there, it's just kind of sticky tape foam. That's pretty much just so that it doesn't scratch the nice chrome piece on the helmet, which it doesn't, so I'm kind of pleased about that. And yeah, and like I said before, you can see that all the screws are sunken, because if they weren't, actually the first few times I tried to make this, they weren't sunk enough, so it wouldn't, when you try to slide the camera in, it doesn't slide in, right? So yeah. You can actually see here that these bolts that actually hold the bracket to the helmet itself don't actually touch. Well, they don't really touch the plastic mount itself. They are actually held on by the aluminum plate. So obviously I have to drill a bigger hole on the mount, or on the plastic piece, and a smaller piece or smaller hole on the aluminum piece, so that they're nice and sunken. And it still gets a lot of support because this aluminum obviously is fairly strong compared to the plastic, so it's not really going to break anytime soon, I don't think. Okay, so here you can see the piece is assembled, obviously not on the helmet, and obviously it's fairly straightforward. You have the two bolts. You may notice I have this kind of weird, kind of custom metal piece here, which is pretty much just bent in the shape of the T. The reason I have that is because when I tried putting it together originally without that, and what would happen is as you tighten the pretty much the bolts to kind of put pressure on it, it would just squeeze these bolts closer and closer and closer together. So I put this washer in to prevent that, so that way it's just pulling this way instead of trying to squeeze it that way, which I didn't really want. Obviously you can see too, there's not just one set of nuts, there's two sets. The reason I have pretty much these lock nuts here is so that, well, for one, there's a space to put this the spacer between, or this metal bracket, so it doesn't just slide all the way forward, so it stays put. But also so that if I set these kind of lock nuts here, whatever distance I want, then whenever I put it on a helmet, I can just tighten these out. I can tighten these down until it's snug. So pretty much just so that I don't over tighten it, because if I didn't have these at all, I could just keep going and going and going until, you know, it pretty much, well, I don't know what happened. Maybe it would kind of bend these washers or damage the helmet, so I didn't really want that. I wanted it snug, but not too tight. And when it's on the helmet, it moves a little bit, and I kind of wanted that because, like I said, if it's super, super tight, then, I don't know, I feel like it's more prone to breaking. And if I was in a crash or something, I kind of want it to move a bit so that it doesn't just doesn't make it worse when I crash, pretty much. You can actually see here, this was my first attempt at making it. And originally I wanted to make it out of wood because I felt that wood would be easier to shape. So what I kind of wanted to do is I kind of wanted to custom make it so that it would fit, like it would match the shape of this chrome piece. So it would be nice and snug on the back, so that it wouldn't be, so that pretty much it wouldn't be riding on the high spots, like so it wouldn't be just touching there, and there. So it would be kind of touching the whole thing equally to reduce, pretty much to make it more snug. But the problem I ran into with the wood was that, as you can see, it's not really as strong. So originally what I wanted to do is, like I did with the metal bracket, was to drill small holes in the wood and have a bigger hole in the top of the plastic mount, so that the screw would be sunken in enough so that it wouldn't interfere with the camera, but I would still have enough thickness here to hold it to the helmet. But obviously you can see it didn't really work. As soon as I tried to tighten the bolts, it just kind of pulled all the wood out. So if you are going to try to make one of these, I don't really recommend using wood. Like I said, I use this old aluminum skid plate. Aluminum seems to work the best because I didn't need any power tools. I literally just used a hacksaw to cut it out, even these angled parts. I mean, it's really straightforward. Even when I was cutting an arrow, I cut that V out with the hacksaw. It's not really difficult at all. And then I just used pretty much a metal file just to round off all the edges so they're not sharp. Obviously, you don't want sharp edges if you fall, or actually that one's still a little sharp. I should probably file that off a bit more. But anyway, so that's how I made my chin mounts. So if you guys were looking to do something similar, hopefully this video helped.